Welcome everyone to the Conscious Living Community Meetup. Tonight we're exploring the idea of creativity. So something that came to mind where I'm working with my own coach, Russell, who's here tonight. Welcome, Russell.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good to be here.
The idea that everything in life is this act of creation, everything being created within the creative incubator of our own minds. But for me right now, in the situation we're at in the world, is that for many of us there is an opportunity to reflect on what would we like to create, what would we like to be different in our lives. So that's personal or professional. And the whole idea around living more consciously, living from a place of greater self-awareness, is that, well, how can I use the power of my mind to create something? Maybe I need to let go of something, a current way of living. Maybe I need to let go of some kind of beliefs. But what is it I want to create? And for some people, they kind of know what they want to create, but they're kind of scared. There's something holding them back. And from my point of view, there's often a mindset issue there. There's some kind of beliefs. There's some kind of fear, insecurity. Well, I'm really interested in this conversation tonight about how we can explore what we can do and the place we can come from to cultivate the ground for creating something new in our life. So for anyone here, welcome everyone. That if you want to chip in, ask questions on the chat, or ask questions of Russell as we get the conversation going, or want to share something. But I'm really interested in, if everyone here was to think right now, there is something I would like to create in my life, personal or professional, something maybe you've been thinking about doing for a long time, but you've been putting off, or something that's occurred to you in the last 6 or 7 weeks of being locked down. And maybe there's something you're not quite sure how to proceed. Well, I'm interested from my point of view. I'm doing a lot of that at the moment. I'm working with Russell. A lot of experimentation. But Russell, I want to hand over to you just to introduce yourself a little bit, because the work we're doing I see as a really creative, experimental process.
Yeah, so my name is Russell Davis. I'm a coach. I've been a full-time coach for about 12 years now. Prior to that, I had a corporate career working in engineering, IT management, project management, and business change, and things like that. I'd say, if people say, what do I do? I think I describe what I do as like to help people give birth to new realities in their life. And that could be I work with couples, help them to have a baby. And my wife had 10 years of infertility, so we kind of know what it's like to struggle with infertility, and we can look back and see how much our mind and emotions played a role in our journey. I work with business leaders to create kind of more business, new business. I work with sports people for sports performance. It's about getting out your own way and being free to not just, as Lauren said, identify what it is you want to create, but having that sense of empowerment and confidence, whatever you want to call it, the mindset to be able to create it. And I guess I must just start by sharing some of my thoughts around creation, because it's such a wide subject. And what's really struck me kind of more recently is more how much we are creating, whether we know it or not. We are creators. If you imagine a toddler, a baby come into the world, they're creating all sorts of things in their life. They learn to walk, learn to talk, and just this whole sense of wonder they bring to the unknownness of life. And they're creating new understanding and new learning all the time. And that's our pure essence. We are creators. Whether we know it or not, we are creating. When I first came across kind of the psychology of the mind, which we call the 3 principles, subtractive psychology, whatever name you want to give it, it's really helping you see that 100% of our human experience comes from thought. We live in a thought-created reality. Before I kind of came across this realization, I really looked like that my human experience was coming from circumstances, my bank balance, or whether my wife said something to me or not, or whether my boss kind of shouted at me, whatever circumstances went on, it looked like they created my emotions, my human experience. I began to realize, actually, it's this layer of thought, this invisible layer of thought is creating our experience. It kind of was mind-blowing in one way, but in another sense, nothing changed. I was still a warrior. I was still anxious, still fearful about all sorts of things. And I started to resent my thinking, because it was my thinking that stopped me being happier, being more content, and being more successful, being more present, having more joy in my life. So it's a resent thought. But what I realized what I was doing was I was resenting the concept of thinking. I was resenting this whole gift we have to create thought. And that was stopping fresh thought coming in. I was then presenting hope, peace, joy, as well as anxiety and fear, because they're all thought. It's all thought. And it really blew me away, because I thought, oh, I create the negative stuff, and the positive stuff comes from circumstances. You know, I look at a beautiful scene in nature. Well, it's that beautiful scene. Surely it makes me feel whatever I'm feeling. When I look at someone I love and I feel the feeling of love, surely it's them making me feel that feeling. And it really blew me away to realize, actually, they're neutral. That scene in nature is neutral. Some people love it, some people find it boring. That person is neutral. Some people like them, some people love them, some people don't like them. That we create everything comes from the inside out. I was looking at that scene in nature from a place of beauty within me. I was looking at that person I loved from a place of love within me. Everything we experience comes from the inside out. And take it to a extent of, actually, we create our circumstances more than we think as well. I'll give you an example where been married 20 odd years, and kind of more recently been realizing how this lesson came to mind. I'll explain the scenario. So I was out and about for the day, and I found this little gift I thought my wife might quite like. She's not a big gifts person, I know that, but I thought it's a small thing. I think she'll like it. Shows I'm thinking of her. So I got home from work, and she was kind of stressed and busy cooking tea and getting things done in the kitchen. I came in and said, hey, I bought you this gift. And I gave her this little gift. And she said, oh, thank you very much. She seemed very appreciative. She really liked it. But she didn't give me a hug or a kiss. Now, if you understand that the 5 love languages, my primary love language is touch. When I went away from the exchange, feeling a bit disgruntled, thinking, oh, she doesn't really love me, she doesn't really appreciate it. And just really kind of peed off by the whole exchange, and just grumpy that she doesn't really love me in the way she says. Which has nothing to do with her. It's my memories from childhood, but it looked like it came from her. But I just got quiet and realized, well, how did I create that? How did I create that? And I had this insight just from that perspective, asking the question, how did I create this? The realization I had was when I gave her that gift, and I give her any gift, even I gave her some flowers, I had this realization as a part of me is like a teenage boy that is scared of the reaction, giving some flowers to a teenage girl, is scared of the reaction. So I throw the flowers on and run away. That emotionally I'm not present. I'm not really communicating why I'm giving the gift. I'm letting the gift do the communicating. Part of me is holding back, emotionally scared of a reaction. So I had that kind of insight. I went back to her and said, look, we had this little exchange, and to be honest, I went away feeling a bit pissed off, and I had this realization, I think this is what's going on. And she went, boom, she went, yeah, absolutely. So this is exactly what's going on. I hadn't realized it, but it's totally, I'm not feeling you in the giving. And it's a real example to me where so often, even though I understand the principles, 100% of our experiences created by thoughts, but actually we create other people's reaction to us as well, more than we ever imagine. Another scenario was I signed up with a coach for a 12-month coaching program. And I was nervous about spending a lot of money. I was nervous about committing to it. And with the conversation, so it was a Friday, it was a group coaching program starting the following weekend. And I said, I'll take it. I'll take the spot. And he's very much a man of his word. And he likes to say, his word is his bond. And over the weekend, I was feeling a bit nervous about it, about committing. And I sent him an email saying, just let you know, I'm feeling really nervous about committing. But I was fully intending of committing. And the invoice he sent had to pay by the Wednesday. So come Monday lunchtime, I went to go and pay the invoice, and it said it was deleted. So I emailed and said, hey, I went to pay the invoice, and it says deleted. He said, yeah, I gave the farm spot away because someone else paid first, and you seemed like you didn't want it. I was absolutely livid, thinking,
Mm-hmm.
we had a conversation, word is a bond, I said I'd pay, the date said Wednesday, and I said, this is not on, like, for these reasons. And so he said, let's jump on a call. I've got a process to take people through when they have disagreement with me. I said, fine, sure, let's do it. I got on the call, and his question was, so how did you create this? I was like, what?
Mm.
What? How did I create this? And I thought, okay, stay calm. There must be something in this. And it was fascinating what came out. I fully owned, okay, I created this. What happened? It was amazing to get again what insights came out. That there is part of me that does delay in committing. Even on booking a flight, I might delay, and you know the way the models work nowadays, the price goes up every day, and I'm paying more for a flight. I know I'm going to take it anyway. There's something about that fear of commitment.
Mm.
And I sent him that email, but didn't confirm, yes, I still want the place. And it was really a lesson to me as how I was showing up and not committing. If I'd committed, if I'd paid him straight away, it would not have happened. Yes, and then we switched the table. He said, how did I create this? And there's some lessons for him as well. But it's been a real example for me how, yeah, we are creative beings. We're creating whether we realize it or not. And that is both, for me, it can be quite scary, but very much empowering. That we do create far more of our life than we ever imagine. We often create the things we complain about, or the things we think getting in the way. We're creating that. It's not happening to us. It's not our DNA. It's not our life story. We're not broken in any way. We are creating it in the moment, which is a good thing because it means we can create something different. This thought is fluid. It's imagination.
Russell, the thing that springs to mind there is that the two words that spring out, it's the beginning of empowerment, but with that empowerment, when you have this knowledge, you begin to see it, and there are no limitations really to this, but it's also the beginning of responsibility. And I know for some people that can be overwhelming.
Absolutely, it can be overwhelming. I was speaking to someone today whose ex-partner is, I mean, she does need some therapeutic help, I'm sure. But when I was talking to him and saying, well, actually, any emotion you feel as a response of her behavior, and I would agree her behavior is unfair and unreasonable, any emotion you feel is a memory of yours. Now, your mind is time traveling. You're going back into the past and then projecting out into the future. When you've got an emotion, it's telling you you're no longer present. And if you are 100% present to that woman, to any moment, you wouldn't feel a strong emotion. You'd be grounded, you'd be calm. Even if, say, there's a tiger in the room with you and you're fully present to it, you won't feel scared. Be present to it. You might be, if you get scared, you might be scared of what it's going to do. You might get scared of what it's going to do the next 2 seconds. But fear is future thinking. An emotion is never about the here and now. It's telling you you're no longer present. Yeah, the here and now may have triggered a train of thoughts. But actually, if you've got an emotion, you're making that situation about you. And I'm not kind of condoning her behavior. I'm not saying that he should be a doormat. But it's trying to help him see that he's taking responsibility for his emotion. And more for not, he's responding from his emotion, responding from a calm mind, having perspective and clarity. And he couldn't see, but what he judged as unreasonable behavior was creating an emotion with him. I'm not judging her behavior. What I'm saying, whatever her behavior is, his emotion is his thoughts. 100%. Nothing's making him feel anything. And that just touched on this whole thing about responsibility. That's about taking responsibility in any relationship, not just a romantic relationship. People say a relationship's 50-50. No, a relationship's not 50-50. A relationship is 100%, 100%. We are 100% responsible for how we are showing up in that relationship. Now, if someone is being kind of unreasonable to us, we have a responsibility to say, you know what, this is not on for me. And step away from it or put some boundaries in place. But you're right, there's elements of empowerment, but also elements of responsibility. But I think when you realize you take full responsibility, that is empowering in its own right.
And for people watching, because obviously we are going to move on this conversation about manifesting, creating something in the world. I know some of the people on the call got some big plans for the future, and we're going to get there. But for me, it's, Russell, with the conversations we have, it's just that invisible nature of that thought creative reality, that it is coming through us. And, you know, so often, you know this, clients will ask me, or in my workshop, it's like, I get this, but tell me how. And they want the how to. Because basically what you've been sort of setting out really there, it's so invisible and it's so not obvious a lot of the time. And for me, I'm interested in your view there, because I'm always trying to cultivate. I'm working at cultivating and expanding my awareness. Those pesky memories, that old thinking, those patterns, they seem to be the things that obscure my seeing and understanding that this is 100% coming through me as a creative process.
Yeah, there's a few things. And one is that, you know, I agree a lot, because I kind of begin to understand it. How do I do it? But a how-to is never actually going to really help you. I read a book once on leadership, and the opening was saying how if you follow the strategies in this book, it will guarantee to change your life and your business for better. Thinking, it's all very good to say that, but if you follow the strategies, and how many people, when they're overwhelmed or paralyzed by fear, have the capacity to apply something, to do something, to have new thinking? You just don't. Which is why I think how-tos aren't really the answer. And it's not really saying about how to. It really is deepening and understanding. The way I sometimes see it or imagine it is, it's like a magic trick. It is invisible. This layer of thoughts is invisible. It's like the Sufi joke. There's a drunken man scrapping on the floor under a lamppost in the middle of the night. And a policeman comes along and says, "What are you doing?" And the drunk man says to the policeman, "Oh, I lost my keys. I can't find my keys." So the policeman says, "Well, let me help you look. Where did you last have them?" And the drunk man points the other side of the road, saying, "Over there." So the policeman says, "So why are you looking here?" He says, "The light's better here." And we have an experience, we create this experience. And because this veil of thought is invisible, the goggles we're looking at ourselves and life through is invisible, we see what's in front of us, and it looks like that's the obvious source of our experience. But it's like a magic trick. I've got a friend that's close up magic. I know it's magic. I know he's trying to fool me. And I am damn sure trying to make sure that he doesn't trick me. I'm trying to look where he doesn't want me to look. But he still gets me every time. He's so damn good at it. But if he tells me how that trick is done, and I watch him do it with someone else, it's like, oh, can't believe I didn't see it. And it's like the TV show, that there's an American TV show called Falling Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller, these two magicians in America, they must be in their 70s. They're highly experienced magicians. And other magicians come on the show, and they do a magic trick in front of Penn and Teller. And Penn and Teller never seen these tricks before, because the magicians have made it up. And their job's to try and see, the magician's job to try and see if they can fool Penn and Teller. But Penn and Teller know the principles of magic so well. The magic is built upon a certain amount of principles, like sleight of hand. They understand these principles so well that it's very hard to fool them with these new tricks. And in the same way, the more we understand the principles of our human experience, we get tricked by this illusion of thought more and more. So we get tricked less and less. We see through the illusion more and more. It doesn't mean we don't get triggered. We're human beings. I think we're spiritual beings having a human experience. This is about embracing our humanness, the emotions we get, and our spirituality. The fact that our true sense of self is the observer of our human experience. The fact we know we're triggered, the fact we know we're stressed, that part of us that knows we're stressed, that's our true sense of self, the observer of the human experience. So the more we see the principles at play, the less we get tricked by them. Or when we do get tricked by them, we can have self-compassion. Because here's the thing, the fact we might get angry or scared, especially about creation, you're scared of the thought of contacting that person or sending that email as part of creating what we want in our life. We might feel fear or nerves. But the more we see the principles, we see it what it is. We see the fear is thought. Doesn't mean the fear doesn't show up. It means we don't have to take any meaning from it. It means we don't have to act through it. It means we can act despite it. Now, if we're trying to wait for the right feeling before we do something, or we're waiting for fear to disappear before we take the actions we want, or if we're waiting to feel confident before we take those actions, we could be waiting a long time, because our emotions, our memories, our thoughts, they know nothing about us, our abilities, our potential, our hopes, our dreams. They know nothing about our circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's separating our psychological state from our actions. Now, confidence is a feeling you get having done something. It's not a prerequisite for doing something.
Yes. Yes. I was reading something, the other day. Confidence is that result of taking action. So acting is a bridge now for, a lot. This is a real opportunity. I know there's people on this call, people can be watching. It's like, this is my opportunity to create something new in my life. Whether it is a career change that's enforced, or actually having taken a step back, whether you're furloughed or working from home, I don't love this anymore. I want to do something different, or something that's so big. And in your mind, it's like, I can't achieve that. Now, there's almost a separate conversation about how people find that thing that makes their heart sing, that they love, their biggest desire. That's almost a separate conversation. I'm interested in where people have a feel for something already, where cultivating the understanding you've just been exploring, but then acting from that place of, well, what you said, that deeper self, that being comfortable, recognizing, well, fear's not going to hold me back. What actually holds us back from taking the action, experimenting, trying things? I see it as a process, an iteration, an experimentation. And until we begin the begin, it's like, well, how will we know? So Russell, I'm really interested in your perspective, because, I'm creating some stuff with you at the moment, and I've got some version 1s and 2 knocking about. I know it's going to be version 10 where I feel, you know what, this is it. But I'm going to need to go through version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's a creative process.
It is. It's like an artist creating a picture, and I'm working with a very good artist at the moment, and trying to help him just get out his own way to take his art where he really wants to take it, rather than where he's kind of clientele or the industry expect him to take it. And it is about that. Just put some paint on the canvas. Just play and let it flow, and it will evolve and it will change. Imagine a sculptor creating an artist creating a sculpture, just playing with the clay, molding the clay. It evolves. They might have an idea where they want to go, but the finished piece may be quite different to where they first expected it to go, first thought it, and it went through probably many iterations along the way. It's like I wrote a book, and it's a very different book than I set out to start. But I had to start doing it. It's like fire, then take aim. You can't steer a boat that's not moving. You can't steer a car that's not moving. You've got to get some action before you can fine tune and adjust along the way. There's something else I was going to say about it. It'll come back to mind. But you're right. It's about that kind of taking that action. And I don't want to, misquote Rich lived him. It's like, going to make shit up and then test it.
Yep.
Just put it out there and just see, and just keep making stuff up, keep creating. And the it is a creative process. And I think the one thing that stops us really getting on that process, starting that process, is often not fear. Fear is a thought. Fear is an illusion. As I say, we can't control our states of mind. We can't control our emotions. They're just going to show up. What stops us is judgment. It's like we are addicted to our fear. We're addicted to our thoughts. We're addicted to our emotions because they believe they're there to help us. Underneath fear is a part of us, probably an inner child, that believes it's there to help us. It's like an addiction. An alcoholic drinks because the part of them that says have another drink believes it will make them happier. So there's an addiction cycle, and it works for the creative process as well, that we have an addictive behavior. It could be fear, it could be drinking. That's driven by an emotion. So the emotion drives the behavior. So a lot of people focus on behavior. How can I be less fearful? How can I stop drinking? But the emotion drives the behavior, but then what follows is a judgment. So for an alcoholic, the next morning there'll be remorse or guilt or beating themselves up for being so weak. What does that do? It feeds an unhelpful emotion about ourselves, which drives the behavior. And so it goes round. And instead of focusing on trying to stop the behavior, it's fear or putting stuff off. Beware the judgment. Recognize this is what I do. I tell myself I'm not able to do this, or I tell myself I couldn't possibly do this. Forgive yourself for that judgment of yourself. Self-compassion rather than judgment.
Absolutely. But you made me think here, Russell. I'm just thinking, if anyone's thinking it's that big career shift, wanting to set up a business, obviously in the current climate, if you think about products, services, the way people are consuming, there's going to be a massive shift to digital. There's abundant opportunities here. There is abundance everywhere. But the sense I had there is that unless we're really stretching ourselves, actually that fear is a good sign. So, people I've had conversations with here, it's just, well, that's probably a sign you're outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's probably a sign you're going in the right direction. And you say you're butting up, leaning against your edge, coming out of your comfort zone, whatever term you want to use. Yeah, it's showing you're stepping outside your comfort zone. And that is really where the magic happens. We can really be ourselves, express ourselves freely, not be living the life others expect of us, being living true to our soul. And that can feel scary.
Yeah.
But you don't need an absence for fear. What you need is courage.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I was going to maybe use that word as a bridge. If anyone wanted to put anything into the chat, or anyone wanted to share, ask a question, you can do it via the chat or unmute, because maybe someone's got a project in mind. And some of this you might be saying, oh, this is all fine in theory, but where do I begin? It's like, well, the sense, from this conversation, we begin exploring, we take ourselves out of our comfort zone, we iterate, we experiment. But I sometimes hear the doubt about, well, what if I fail? Or how will I know it's the right thing for me if I put all this effort in and I don't succeed? What does that mean? You're talking about the fear driving us there.
And we talk about the three principles of our psychological experience. There's the fear, there's the principle of thought. Understand the true nature of thought. That thought is spontaneous. Thought is, you can't choose your thoughts. We think we can. If you try and predict your next 3 thoughts, it's actually impossible. And a thought is self-correcting. It just settles on its own, like a glitter ball. It just settles on its own. We won't kind of unpack it too much now, but there's a principle of thought that helps us understand the true nature of thought. There's a principle of consciousness about the fact we live in a thought-created reality. That 100% of our human experience is this layer of thoughts. But there's a third principle, and that's the principle of what often people call mind. I think it's the most unhelpful word. I think it's the principle of where our well-being comes from. It's the principle of our sense of okayness. Because often the thoughts in our head are what we call outside-in thinking. I'm okay if this happens, I'm okay when this happens. They're insecure thoughts. So they learn often from childhood as a way of protection. But the truth is our sense of okayness is within us. That whatever happens, we'd be okay. Because psychologically, we have everything we need to be okay in this moment. We're born with it. No baby is born insecure. No toddler compares themselves to others. That's our innate self. Below the noise of thoughts and emotions, in the moments of quiet, we drop into our true sense of self. And that's someone who knows we're okay. That's someone who sees things with clarity, that knows, you know what, I can deal with this, I can cope with this. I've worked with people that want to take a career change and they're scared because of the financial impact, and they've started their own business and the fear just narrows them down. They don't see things with perspective. Because if you want to take it to the nth degree, do you have to earn money? Do you absolutely have to earn money? If the money stopped coming in tomorrow, how long could you live with what you've got? Tighten your belt a bit. Often it's longer than most people think. But even if you had no money, do you have to be earning money? You don't need to do anything. There's protection. You won't be on the street. You could choose to claim benefits if you want. You could choose to do all sorts of things. we have this perception of how we should live, or how we have to live, which narrows our creative field because it's driven by fear, the fear of not being okay. But the more we know psychologically we're okay, whether we're rich or poor, whether we have a big house or small house, have a job or no job, that psychologically nothing makes us feel anything. If it was things that made us feel things, then all the millionaires would be happy. All the homeless people will be unhappy. It doesn't work that way. So the more we be aware that our psychological well-being is within us, we're born with it, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. Even beyond that, there's an energy behind life that is loving and divine. It's got our back. Whatever God is for you, it's not what we think it is. Often we take our perception of this energy or God, the mother, divine, whatever you want to call it, often from our parents. But this energy behind life is unconditional love. And it's got our back. So it's not even you to trust yourself. You're working with this energy that knows what we want, and it's kind and loving, it's got our back.
When we've got that, when we, I guess, have some kind of embodied experience of that, or we get the glimpses, because, you know, I'm sure we could say, Russell, that it's just like we don't see it and then we do see it.
Oh God, yeah.
If I know it's there, so what I'm talking about here is about if I'm okay no matter what, at our core, you know, we're butting up against our values here, our conditioning, our beliefs. If I can touch that space, surely that enables me to play all out. What Michael Neill's talking, basically you're playing with the house's money. What am I going to lose? That seems to be the place to start creating from, or to surprise ourselves with what we can create.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I touched on before. And I used to have been faced safe jobs. I think it was a safe job as a corporate career. I was there for 17 years. I was a senior manager. But something in me felt this is just not me. It's just not me. It was easy. It was well paid. But it just wasn't me. So I resigned, thinking, okay, I need to find something that's more me. And I gave them 6 months notice, thinking, okay, I need those 6 months to find out what I really want to be doing. And it's interesting, most people resign from a position like that, resign to have a bigger, better job to further their career. When everyone found out I was resigned, they're quite shocked because, 17 years. When I said, so what are you going on to? I said, I don't know yet. So you find something more me. The amount of people said, oh, I wish I could do that. I was thinking, it's no different. I'm not sitting on a bankroll of money like anyone else. I'm on the same salary. And do you know what I mean? It's again, it comes down to, I guess, that courage. But I guess by that point, I had this sense of something bigger than us. I knew what was the worst case. I go back and get a similar job somewhere else. But there's something in me, I just had to try. And then within that 6 months, my wife became pregnant with our son, and the company didn't want me to go anyway. They said, surely you only want to stay now because you've got a family on the way. And I said, no, I believe it happened in that order for a reason. There was something like me stepping out, allowing myself to be me. No longer living life the way I should be living. Living life true to my soul. And it was scary as hell. It was interesting, and I walked out of that door on the last day. I had no idea what I was going to do next. Still had no idea. But I just knew to get out and stop. And a very wise friend said, maybe you need to get out and just stop for a while and be in that space. We'll get clarity what's next. What I was shocked was how much my security was tied up in that job. And I was really shocked. It wasn't until I walked out, had my past back, or my working career in that company, my identity was tied up with that job.
Yeah.
So it's realizing, actually, I wasn't trusting anything bigger. I was holding on to these physical things I thought I needed to be safe, to be okay, to be secure, to be someone. And this was part of my process of beginning to let go of that and actually, I am okay for who I am. And I can...
Russell, but that's the point, isn't it? The conversations we have is about what do we need to let go of to let in, basically, that creativity, that newness.
Yeah, it's like letting go of the old story to allow space for a new story.
Yeah. But there's always resistance that comes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
for some people.
because the old story is wrapped up in my well-being. That's the illusion. I wasn't aware how invisibly my sense of identity was tied up with that job, which is probably why I stayed a number of years longer than I really could have done. I was too scared to leave. I hadn't identified why. Yes, it kind of paid well as a sense of financial security, but actually I think what was stronger looking back was a sense of identity that was tied up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think I'm trying to make a generalized question here, for a sense. For some people, they don't want to make the wrong decision. They don't want to make the wrong choice. If I'm going to go all in with this thing, now I hear a lot of doubt there and some kind of need for certainty. Well, you know we cannot have that. And then the rational mind kicks in and wants to reduce the risks. Well, maybe there's a role for that to some degree. But for me, I don't know, I'd be interested on your view on, there is a kind of a leap of faith because you are leaping into the unknown.
Absolutely. And when I left that job, I imagined this image. I don't know whether this is true or not, but I think, when an eagle learns to fly, it gets pushed out its nest and it falls and it finds its wings. I assume that the parent eagle knows exactly the right timing, or whether they catch it if it's not the right time. But that's what it felt like. It did feel like that leap of faith and just trusting that it's going to be okay. That whatever happens, I'll work it out. But I just had to follow my soul's desire. And for me, that turns life into an adventure. I think an adventure is an element of unknown, an element of risk. That's what makes it an adventure. That makes it such a memorable experience, rather than a beach holiday or going on an adventure. It's like there's elements of risk with adventure. And risk is sometimes unknown. Things come up. How do you get around it? That's what makes it an adventure. That's what creates the memories on such a kind of an experience, a trip or an adventure. And it did feel like I was falling. And I think, looking back, maybe I grabbed the first branch sticking out from the cliff. And I started working for a company. It was a friend of mine had been badgering me to work with him for a number of years. He set up his own company. It was a massive step in the right direction. But I guess it's like you're saying, it's iteration. You've got to try things. But then looking back, I can see actually maybe it wasn't the right thing. It was a step in the right direction, but I learned stuff while I was there.
Yeah.
And because maybe I shouldn't have taken it. Maybe I should have free falled a bit longer. There's no regret. It's about feeling into it. It's like driving in a really thick fog. It's one breadcrumb at a time.
Yes.
And sometimes you can only see a few feet in front of you, but you can drive hundreds of miles that way.
Yeah.
And the more you know your well-being is within you, it feels less scary. It just feels something you've got to do.
Yep. Yes, we're driven. And it's interesting, actually. I was just looking up, I can't say this quote. Dan sent it. I was just looking it up, Dan. Perfect. It's a very short poem. Come to the edge, he said. We can't. We're afraid, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. We can't. We will fall, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. And so they came, and he pushed them, and they flew.
Mm.
Thank you, Dan. That's about our potential, and that's how fear holds us back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
So Linda's asked the question, were you unhappy in your old job? Is that why you left? Or one of the reasons? So I wouldn't say I'm unhappy. That's why I stayed so much longer, because there's just like, all I can say is a sense it wasn't me. I don't think I was slightly a square peg in a round hole. There's elements of, there's like a creativity. I was a senior manager, but it's a very regulated industry. The director I worked for was ex-government and politician and very much process driven. So there's elements of it I wasn't kind of necessarily happy about. You can guess you get that in any job. I wasn't unhappy. It wasn't as if I dreaded Monday mornings, because there's so much of it was easy in a way. And it wasn't that stressful. I was very much left to my own devices in many ways. But there's just an inkling within me that thought, there's something I've got to follow within me. There's something I've explored about getting paid for being me, whatever that is. I feel like I love what I do now. I do feel like getting paid for being me. That's what I'm going to describe it. I wanted to find out what it meant to get paid for being me. I had no idea what that was. And I thought, I can't imagine being on my deathbed without exploring what that is and just spending some time finding that. And maybe some people, you don't have to jump off the cliff like I did and leave that job, full-time job, to do that. Maybe you can do that aside. I didn't know anything about personal development back then. I was finding my own way. It wasn't until after I left I got myself a coach. But it felt the right way for me. I'm not saying everyone's got to do it that way, but it just felt the right way for me. And I can look back and see why, because I had such deep roots into that job through security and identity. I think I had to step away to create something new, to find out who I was and create something new. So I wouldn't say I was unhappy, just a bit, just something didn't feel right. And I think I know myself more now. If I'd gone back now, it would feel different now than it was then. But I'm very happy with what I'm doing now. So again, I can look back and see maybe the disgruntlement or whatever I could describe it, was that me? Did I create that? Yes, absolutely. It's elements I wasn't showing up as me in that job. I was a people pleaser because I didn't know who I was, which that didn't help the whole environment. If I go back and be me and not be the people pleaser I was, would I be very much content there? I don't know. But I'm very happy with what I'm doing now.
But what I like about this, Russ, it was almost like, for some people, it's like, I've got this business idea, I've got this thing. For others of us, it's broader. And it might be, if you think about successful business people, they'll often start something up, it'll fail, they'll do something again. There's a kind of a mindset there, isn't there? There's a testing. And I'm really interested in that. We do have the opportunity to always be testing, experimenting. There is a constant feedback loop available to us. The work we're doing, I'm testing certain things, and then, basically I'll test it. No, that wasn't working. Doesn't mean anything. What can I learn from this? Pivot sideways, try something different.
Yeah.
That's a creative process as far as I can see it.
Absolutely. Exactly it. And so you can't steer a boat or a car that's not moving. It means you've got to be doing something to trial it.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a spare time and working with she's a very eminent psychologist, but she wants to be a writer, a creative children's writer. So she's spending more and more time testing it, spending more time doing her writing. She hasn't resigned from her job yet, but at some point she will. But at the moment she's testing it out. She's doing writing courses. She's doing more and more of what was her hobby. And actually that's what she wants to be her profession.
And there's an interesting point there, because I'm conscious of time. It's amazing how time has just flown by. I've got about 10 minutes left. I'm interested in sort of shifting the conversation. Again, if there's any other questions, it's just, for some of us, even when someone's got a job, it sometimes feels like it's the big leap. But I'm always interested when I'm coaching people, it's like, well, what research have you done? How can you use your spare time to start experimenting? Have you even dived in? Have you asked for some advice? Have you asked for some conversations? Modeling, shadowing in some way, trying it on for size. There's plenty we can be doing. It doesn't have to be the massive leap.
No, absolutely. And I think, fear narrows us down. The more we have the openness, the more the creative kind of mindset, the more knowing actually our sense of okayness is within us, we can see the opportunities. We can take those steps. Even for clients, and they say a full-time job, and one wants to be a coach, and she's starting to coach within her full-time job. She's asked her boss, I've done this coach training, can I do some coaching amongst the team? No cost. And she's starting to do it, get some experience in it, get some testimonials, and she hasn't left her job. She found creative, but she felt nervous about asking her boss about that. Didn't know how he would respond. But when she realized, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to be okay with whatever he says. It's his thinking. That's okay.
Is there any other questions? Because I found this a really kind of heartening.
Another question from Tanya. Your journey sounds where I am now. I know what I want, but it's the getting there and sometimes having the feeling of being lost. For me, it's about recognizing that feeling of lost is a feeling. It doesn't actually know anything about your life today or where you're at or what you're thinking about doing. our emotions are memories. And imagine actually, if you were to tune into that feeling of lost, if you can imagine if there's a younger you associated with that feeling of lost, you might be surprised what age you comes to mind. And that's what it is. It's a memory. It's a thought pattern. It's a belief about yourself or life that you picked up from a very young age, and it's carried on out of habit. And the emotion is basically an inner child saying, hey, I'm feeling nervous right now. Hey, it's crying out for what it was crying out for in some way back then. And here's back the judgment, say about judgments. So imagine there's an inner child that's freaking out in some way, or feeling scared or lost or freaking out. And sometimes as adults, we judge our experiences, we get frustrated with ourselves. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I get annoyed, it's just stopping me, holding me back. And what we're doing is rejecting or ignoring that inner child. What happens? It gets stronger because it's just trying to get our attention. It's just trying to get reassurance. So if you could just accept that feeling of loss, that it's an inner part of you that's a bit scared right now, that's okay. And relate to it as if it's like an inner child, and maybe you can connect to what age it is. You can begin to change your relationship with that feeling of lost. Because I'm interested, when that feeling of loss comes up, what's your response to it? Because here's the thing, it's not the emotion that's the problem, it's our response to it, it's our relationship with it. And the more we see what our emotions are, we don't have to be scared of them. We can relate to them in a different way. We can be with them, we can allow them. We can allow fear, and it doesn't mean anything. We can allow the feeling of loss, knowing actually it doesn't mean anything about your life today, what you're thinking about doing. And the more we allow it, it just moves on.
Yeah.
But my favorite kind of visual aid is this. Any feeling, if we allow it, in the feeling lost, it just moves on. And before you know it, you look back, oh, I don't feel so lost anymore. And you don't know consciously what you've done to let it go, but the mind is just settled. The thing is, we have a feeling of loss or fear. And as an adult, we're starting to take meaning from it. How do I get rid of it? Do I stop it? This is going to stop me taking the steps I want in my life. And we're actually giving it more energy. Yeah, I'm just allowing it. I feel lost right now, full stop. That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean anything. I feel who I am, my ability, what I'm doing. It's just an inner child. Give it some love and compassion. And that's the nature of thought, the principle of thought. It's self-correcting. Fresh thought is always coming in if we allow it. Fresh thought's always coming if we allow it. And we're moving back to peace, perspective, clarity is what toddlers are like. They spend most of their time in that space. And they get triggered. They can feel scared. They can feel lost. They can feel it's the end of the world because they can't have a sweet. But they've got nothing on it. They take no meaning from it. It's not pleasant. They just be in it and it moves on.
Yeah.
So for me, the feeling of lost is not the problem. It's our relationship with it.
Yeah. Actually, there's 2 points here. We're going to finish with these. Agpenny on first, because she's saying thank you for supporting us. Really enjoying tonight's conversation. Accepting all thoughts, not resisting them. That's the thing there, yeah. And she likes my top, which is nice. And Linda's point, it's a bigger point.
Oh, is that your top or my top?
Oh, well, I think it's mine.
It's probably your top. Yours is very snazzy. Mine's very plain.
Yeah. And this is right. So we haven't talked. I haven't used the C word at all, current situation. I was doing a bunch of coaching today and people were like, they're all struggling. Yeah, they're all my group program. And one of the first questions I was asking is like, how was life 6 months ago? Maybe it's act as a bit of a magnifier for the issues they had, 6 months ago. But I think it's really easy to focus on the situation. We're still pretty much the same person. Our circumstances might be different. But so Linda, on the collective level, it seemed to have created the current global situation. Only last year, people all over the planet were asking for less air travel, less consumption. It's like, well, you get what you ask for. I guess some people weren't asking for that, but there was we were reaching some kind of cliff edge. Now, it's not my job to get all political about this, but there was something happening. And this is the tipping point.
Yeah, it's interesting how many people we meet that say, oh, I wish the world could stop and get off for a while.
Yeah.
And I do think deep down, a lot of people are craving some space. I think a lot of people deep down were not satisfied. And I think this pandemic it's like a pattern interrupt, I think, for society, all aspects of society. And it is an opportunity for us to get quiet and reflect what's really important to us. I think it's amazing how many people, yes, I granted there's a lot of grief, pain and suffering right now. I get that, whether it's kind of death of loved ones or fear of financial security. And at the same time, most people I speak to are enjoying aspects of lockdown. And a lot of people said they're not going to go back to the life they were before. So I think there's elements, yeah, collectively, I think a lot of us were almost asking for this kind of interrupt to slow the world down a little bit, just to retune what is it we really want in our lives, what's really important to us. Because we get so caught up, and then collectively get caught up, whether it's politically, the media, society, get caught up into the business of life, chasing things which we think we want, but actually our soul doesn't really want. It goes back to me leaving that job. Some saying, I wish I could do what you were doing. Well, they could. But maybe part of them thought, well, I can't because I've got to pay my mortgage on my large house and have my 4 international holidays a year. I can't maintain the current lifestyle while doing that kind of journey. Well, that's what they really want, was their soul want.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. That seems like a really nice way to bring it to an end. I want to thank Russell. You've been in full flow tonight. It's going to be hard to top this session, find a way. But for anyone watching, and anyone watching on YouTube, it's to begin, experiment. And this time for some of us is a real gift. Use it. And you don't need to know what the end point is.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Lawrence, for inviting me. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you
So
for the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Russell. So I'm going to stop the recording there, say goodbye. So if anyone say goodbye in the green room, but thanks forever. I always say this, anyone who's made it to the end of the YouTube, thank you very much for sparing an hour of your time.
Thank you.
So grateful for that. And thank you for everyone being here live in the room tonight. Thank you very much. I'm going to see you again. It's going to be a monthly thing. So it'll be the first Monday in June. So see you then.